So yeah, just a quick update on CXM and where we're at. So jumping straight into new features we've been working on since the last Academy. Probably the first thing to say is we've been working on third-party sign-in, and we have built a feature for public users to be able to sign into CXM using MyGov Scot. So this is relevant for our Scottish customers, but this is involves building out a framework which will then enable us to add other sign-in options. So we want to make it as easy as possible for public users and for staff users to sign into CXM. We've had feedback that there's a number of areas that could be improved on the sign-in and registration process. So giving public users the option to choose their preferred method, so perhaps Facebook, and staff users using Active Directory, we see as a key way forward. So just to give you a quick preview of what that looks like, the user will go to the sign-in page, and there's now an icon here which says sign in with MyGov Scot, and that might also say Facebook or Active Directory. And that then redirects the user off to the MyGov Scot portal, where in this scenario they're going to register, and that will then take them through the registration process in the portal, where they then fill out their details, consent, and then that brings them back to CXM. Because they're registering, they're asked to agree to the privacy policy, and then they're signed in. So a seamless journey. One of the other features we've been working on is enabling public users to be able to change their details. So this allows them to self-serve, so that staff users, they don't have to ring up and staff users make that change. And all of those details can then be used and pre-filled on X forms, adding to the My Account experience. So we're just going to have a quick look at that feature in the software. So I'm signed in here to the demo system with my customer account. And if I click on the Change Details button, it now takes me to the My Details page. And previously you could only change your name, your email and your password. You can now change your title, your middle name, your date of birth, your telephone number, and most importantly perhaps your address. So I can now change my address here. That changes the primary address for the user and then sends them an email to confirm their previous address and the new address for security reasons, just to ensure that no one else made that change. And one key thing to mention is if you have a process whereby you want to manage the change of address through a workflow so that staff can update other back office systems, that can be incorporated onto the My Account page as a link. And in that email you can also link to the, that form and notify the customer, oh, and by the way, you also need to contact council services. So you can explain what change of address means in the context of the council. A couple of smaller changes we've made. So when you create a case in CXM, you can do that from the dashboard, and the Create Case modal pops up, and you need to link off to the customer who's on the phone. We made a small improvement where you can see the address in the person finder results, so you can distinguish between the customer records that you're looking for. And there's we've added our advanced search into that modal as well. A number of you have been asking us about reporting on the number of customer accounts, which we have taken into consideration, and we're looking at adding some reports into CXM around customer account metrics. As a precursor to that, we've made a small change. So if you go to the users page now, you can see, you probably can't see it because it's very small on this screenshot, but it tells you the total number of users you have. So you can filter that down to customer accounts that are activated. So filtering out the incomplete and disabled customer accounts. So that gives you a number that's useful from a reporting perspective, and we're looking to improve that area as well. So what's in progress? A big piece of work we're working on at the moment is improving and almost changing how integrations work in CXM, or at least how they're configured, for two main reasons. So the first one is being able to be more flexible with how we map a CXM case to a back office system. So the scenario we're working on with Birmingham for garden waste requires one CXM case to be mapped to different entities in Northgate M3, which is what they use for their waste management. So we need to map a CXM case to a worksheet to tell someone to go out and deliver a garden waste bin. But we also need to map that same case to an asset entity, which is basically, it records the status of the subscription at that property. So that's a new way of thinking about integrations, or gives you more power with your integrations. And then the second bit, which is what you can see on the slide, is making integrations rule-based. Now this is very powerful because previously, pushing data from CXM into back office systems only occurred when a case was created in CXM or when a field was updated. Now you can use the CXM, or you will be able to when we release this, the CXM rules engine to decide when you want data to be pushed from CXM into your back office system. So the example at Birmingham, or one example with Birmingham's waste integration, is that you might handle bins and sacks differently for garden waste subscriptions. So you'd have different rules that push different data into Northgate M3. You may not want to push everything into the back office system. You may want to have a CXM case come in from a customer, run a few rules against that case, and you may want to triage it first, and then you might want to push it into the back office system. And that's what doing things through rules enables you to do. And in this example, I don't know if you can read it, but we've got a highways example, so using confirm. We're saying here when the location of a street light is not in the park, apply this integration action at the bottom. So looking now at the roadmap. So we talked a bit about the integrations in MyGov Scott. We'll come on to Amazon Lex, which Mike's going to talk about. Many of you have been asking for the ability to delete a choice field option, which we're working on at the moment and hope to release soon. We've covered third-party sign-in. Reporting improvements. So we've had feedback from many of you that you'd like us to look at how we can improve automating the export of data from CXM. So that's something we're looking to tackle next year, and we're going to work with a couple of councils on that. Some of the ideas we've got are building a connector with some of the preferred business intelligence tools, and there are other options as well that we're exploring. And also, as mentioned, customer account reports. In terms of integrations, so we've mentioned Confirm. It now has two-way capabilities. We're building out Northgate M3 integration, and following a customer focus group getting together, talking about iDocs Uniform, we've now committed to looking at adding additional service request types as part of that integration that CXM already has with iDocs Uniform. And I believe the first ones will be noise and non-environmental health, and followed by pest control and a few others. Many of you have also asked for the ability to use some of the data stored in CXM for marketing purposes, but also to analyse information around people who hold a My Account with you. So that's something we're also committed to looking at next year. So finally, just to finish off, which sort of leads into Mike's demo around what we're doing in the area of chatbots and AI. So we recognise that chatbots and AI have definitely arrived, with clear benefits to self-service, allowing the customer, or meeting the customer in their preferred channel, but also taking away some of the repetitive, having a person need to serve someone when they have a frequently asked question, which you could automate. So what we're doing is we're working with Northampton Borough Council on a beta integration with Amazon Lex. So what we want to do, the first step anyway, is to make it easy to launch a bot that raises a case in CXM. So we're aware that CXM stores all of your, or most of your customer interactions. So it's very important that bots are going to be able to query and interact with CXM. And in terms of building that integration, it's typically a a technical task. So we want to take that away from developers and into your hands to define how that bot will behave, how it interacts with CXM. Why Amazon? There's a couple of reasons at the moment. I mean, we're fairly agnostic in terms of which bot technology we integrate with, but we've chosen Amazon for a few reasons, primarily because they're emerging as the leader in voice recognition. They're the only platform so far that we've identified where you can build a bot which can then be deployed through telephony channels as well as chat channels. Everything is API first, so most of the functionality you need to integrate with other back office systems is available. And so far they seem to be very good at their upgrade path and the compatibility there compared to the other competitors in the market. On many other areas they're very, it's fairly ubiquitous. So where does CXM fit into this? So taking the contact flow that Northampton have put together, they're still in the early stages of their research and their implementation, but they've put together a sort of a high-level contact flow. So their vision is that any interaction that comes in is treated in the same way, regardless of what channel it comes in from. So it could be email, SMS, telephones, chat, social media, and they want to take that data and treat it and put it through the same contact flow. So it's about building a repeatable framework, if you like, and not building things over and over again and reinventing the wheel. So when a contact comes in, there's all the pre-processing that happens, so checking virus scanning, checking for spam, inappropriate language, etc. And once it's past that step, what they want to do is they want to scan that content for any CXM reference. So is this customer talking to us about an interaction that is open? So do they want us to update them on it, or do they want to update that case? So it could be providing more evidence on a license case that they have open. So that's where CXM is first applied. It's on updating the customer or updating a CXM case. The next step is, if it's not an update, is this a frequently asked question? And this is where you want to prevent any sort of contact or any staff member having to process the case or the interaction with the customer. So this is where Amazon plugs into Q&A services, which pull data from across various sources, spreadsheets, various sources, and one of those could be a Jadu directory. So that's something that Northampton are exploring. And then finally, if it meets none of those criteria, then what they want to happen is that the data is then analysed to see if there is any, or what the customer intent is, based on the pre-programmed bots that they have. So that could be a specific bot to raise a case about a misbin, or raise a garden waste subscription case. And if none of those criteria are met, then they're going to use CXM to create a general contact case type, which can then be managed through the current processes. So that concludes the CXM update, and that leads into Mike's presentation to take you into more detail about what we're doing around chatbots and AI.